Welcome everyone to the night shift. It is shift 47. ZP here with Jason and DDK. And gentlemen, we've had a bit of roster mania here in Europe. Empty dreams shifting over on the roster. But before we get deeper in that, how are you gentlemen doing today?
Been good. Wait, I knew to go first because I knew I was going to wait, right? I was going to wait. But Jason loves to mess with things. He likes to leave the awkward silences and make it really awkward on the show. He wants to ruin your flow, ZP. I just want to give you a heads up.
You know, I was about to say, starting with DDK, I saw this coming, but I appreciate the initiative. Jason, though, was that your plan going into the day?
No, it's called being selfless and letting others speak on the desk. Some talent need to learn from that potentially. But, you know, I'm doing good. I'm doing good today. Obviously, with the changes that came in, hopefully we'll see a mix-up in the meta as well. But I'm also more curious about how Shark's going to perform, but also more importantly, what the hell is happening in North America, ZP?
Well, that's great because we're going to talk about the format here in the night shift, and you'll get to see the disparity between the regions that's gone on this week. In EU is a nice, healthy week. We got to see the return of Slice and Dice, and while they weren't able to get over Leviathan, some of those games were pretty close. One of the qualifier matches went over 40 minutes. Leviathan, though, was able to take them down and get the right to be against Abrahams here in the Challenger match, leading to what's a pretty classic EU setup. However, in NA, you may be looking at this and going, why is it just melee creeps and FPS Lounge? Well, I'm going to go down the list real quick. Get Candy dissolved after one showing in Night Shift last week. Bird with Clock, they are still finalizing their roster. They were unavailable. Work in Progress, I believe they had people unavailable. I forget if they were the team that had people going on summer vacation or not. But that was the thing. Also, the new Hydration Crayon team, they still don't have a sixth. So throughout all of NA, you had all these issues, but it leaves us with Melee Creeps FPS Lounge. And the cool thing is here, Dan, is that going into this, we have the flexibility to make a conditional BO5. If EU is only 3 maps today, NA will be a BO5. However, if EU goes the distance, NA will be a BO3.
Honestly, I kind of like it because I feel like there's more continuity, and you get a special thing in this game where you get a really fun dynamic where the draft continues, and there's all this, I think, theory crafting as the game evolves. So I think it kind of steps outside of the meta slightly, and you get a game that really revolves around the styles of the two teams and their interactions. So I actually really think BO5 is kind of cool. I do wonder if it's the format we'll get in a future Deadlock at LANs and such.
Give me best of 7 or best of 9, or don't bring me any Deadlock. Come on, guys. We need a 7-hour series happening. That's like the grand final of the first Deadlock International, be a best of 7. And then the casters will have to have, 3 to 4 different energy drinks to stay awake during that one.
You know, Counter-Strike series that do that, they're like 5-6 hours. So it wouldn't be unprecedented.
But we need the best of 7 with like at least 3 Unco pauses to really liven things up. But before we get deep into the future of Deadlock, let's talk about the now and how the scene is being supported and being kept alive. And we couldn't do that without talking about our wonderful patrons that help make the show happen week in and week out. Everyone on this board, thank you so much for helping this show just go on every week. And, Jason, you have a tradition you like carrying on every week, so I leave it to you.
Conquest! Because Invincible is amazing, and that name is kind of cool. And I like how Conquest beat the crap out of Mark. That's it.
All right, Dan, you can go anywhere off of this segue, whether calling someone out or going the Invincible lore, really, wherever you want to bring it.
I got 2. I mean, one is going to be Chrisana, because Chrisana's support also in the show with all the gifteds and the donations and stuff like that. The support is off the chain and consistent as well. So huge shout outs to Chrisana. And then also Shiv's wife. They're a $5 night shift resident. I didn't know that Shiv had a wife.
Yeah, I mean, well, Shiv's continual success in the competitive scene, look, he's just succeeding in all matters of life. But once again, thank you to their patrons. But moving on to our rosters here. Look, we had a bit of roster mania here, and for Abrahams, we got a return of one of the great ones here, Jason. Sherrick is back in play for Abrahams. Took a long time off the comp scene, but, for those who have been following Deadlock from the beginning, Sherrick was a part of a lot of those really great Virtus Pro teams and Buffingers before they were called that.
Oh, man, I can't wait to see Shark have to play Mo and Krill for an entire series. That's probably what's going to happen. At least back in the day, that's pretty much what he did. Unfortunately, ZP over on like Virtus Pro, Buff and Joris, he always played the role that no one wanted to play. But I think that's, to me, what makes him such a great addition to any team, is that he's willing to do whatever it takes to win. Because I don't think anyone liked playing Mo back then when it came to competitive play, it came to night shift. But he did it. And Virtus Pro had one of the longest streaks ever when it came to being the top dog in EU. So credit to him. But I guess the only question going forward, Dan, is how tested is he? How warmed up is he? I mean, we haven't seen him since 1 week on low key W when the initial low key W came around with like Listic on the team.
Yeah, and I will say, just as you're mentioning Mo, we haven't seen Mo in a while, but I do think Mo might be undervalued. So I would love to see it. But yeah, great roster. I would love to also see some Drifter. We're seeing the tease there for Arzo, and I think Drifter has been rising in the stocks. And I really enjoy how Drifter does have some cool dynamics. I think it's actually found like a decent place in the meta. But when we get into the hero priority, if you guys haven't checked the show in a couple of weeks, like later on, it's gonna be very interesting to like review how at the moment in Deadlock there are the most like top like picks that you can kind of have that we've ever seen, and the midfield seems kind of bare, like, so everything feels like very good at the moment.
Well, looking to the opposition for Leviathan, you may be going, oh, I want to see more Empty Dreams. Well, guess what? You're going to see more Empty Dreams. Take away Psy, add in Empty Dreams. Empty Dreams is playing today for Leviathan. And also in the qualifiers, it was back-to-back games on Pocket where Leviathan won. So, maybe, just maybe, Jason, looking back at, there was some of the commentary of like, I don't know what's going on with the frogs. There's only one frog per briefcase. It's because Empty Dreams has packed his bags for this move over to Leviathan.
I hope that's the case, ZP. I hope that's the case. And I also hope that him only hitting, one or no man afflictions last week isn't the reason that he's departed the team or that he's separated ways with the team. Because he's a very good player, very strong player. And sometimes you just have bad games. But I mean, either way, within this team, I mean, him and Dimov already as a duo is extremely scary. And then obviously we've seen Freemuck have some massive games. Hopefully you get to see him on Shiv. Overseas has been stepping up a lot as well. Fargareco, we got to see last week, and he was surprisingly decent. I have to give him credit, obviously being a top 1 player on 20 different heroes, the only player to do so far when it came to the leaderboard. He's a very tested player, and this team has potential. It's just it's still so weird to me, Dan, to see this team though without OCs on it.
Yeah, it does seem a bit foreign. Yeah, it's weird. OCs has had a very interesting journey, but I mean, the fact that he's not here, but you do have Dimov, that's kind of fun. So, you get someone that is of that level of quality, although less specialized, I would say, because Dimov's certainly a master of, sometimes it feels like all. So certainly a great replacement to have, Empty Dreams in there also in terms of doing the carry roles and the playmaker roles is so solid that I think it is a very dangerous team here. And I'm excited to see that Fargareco has also come back into the mix. Irizumi as well. Like, these are some names that we haven't seen as frequently in the top 3 of late. So it's going to be fun to see how their interpretation, their hero pulls in this newer meta will show off in these games. And I guess there are some changes we have to talk about as well.
Yeah, but before we get into that, do you believe we have our Mo 1-on-1? That is just about ready. That is the next thing that we're going to be heading over into. And, Dan, we talk about not seeing a whole lot of Mo 1v1 as of late. A lot of Mo as of late. We still get Mo in our one-on-ones. And, the person I want to see make a bounce back here is Saint. Saint went from undefeated for weeks on end and, got roughed up a little bit. It's been kind of the rejuvenation arc, maybe for Saint to win some Mo 1v1s once more.
Yeah, he's got some special insights. It's like Messi with the ball. I don't know. We obviously, the World Cup is on right now, so you gotta get a Messi reference in there. He has a second nature when it comes to the parry, with the positioning, the timing. He's the GOAT.
To the diving, to pretending like he got fouled, to getting things overturned. Yeah, maybe Mo can be the GOAT. I'm curious though, Dan.
He does kind of like, he's diving, kind of like sliding like a dive, kind of
a little bit.
Okay, we're in.
I'm curious though, Dan. What stretch goal would we have to hit for you to get like a Mo and Krill tattoo on like your shoulder?
I'm gonna be tattooed this for my entire life, Jason. So it'd have to be like $1 million or something.
All right, Christina 14, get on it. Let's get that together. But the Mo and Krill, it has kicked off. Saint back in it, like you're saying, ZP, and he needs to redeem himself. And so far, Dimov isn't letting him.
I mean, look, we may be seeing like the end career Mike Tyson right now. It is looking bad. Another parry throws out. Dan, Saint's on the ground once more.
Yeah, he's lost it. He's lost a touch. But I mean, he is against Dimov, so I mean, it did take a Titan. So
Now, Jason, before we get into the draft, we don't have a graphic pre-prep for it, but we did. Let's look at the hero priority if we can, because we did have patch changes here, and I'm curious to see what has changed, if anything, on prio. The interesting thing to me when we're looking at the qualifiers, Freelock was still playing Shiv, even with Shiv getting hit with some pretty serious nerfs. So I'm kind of curious how significant the recent nerfs are actually going to, have an impact on for this meta right now, because taking a look at the drafts, a lot doesn't seem to have changed massively as of yet.
When are we going to learn, ZP? You cannot nerf Shiv enough for him to not be viable. Even though they did hit the killing blow like threshold, they've reduced it a bit, but then re-added it towards the end, so you have to max it out. They changed bloodletting around a little bit to have like a longer cooldown. They reduced some spirit scaling on his knives, and I believe his dash as well. So they're trying to tone him down, but I still feel like at its core, he's one of those heroes that at the top level, it doesn't really matter how you change him until you nerf him into the ground. He's still going to be viable.
Dan, it's one thing here that's funny. Looking at the heroes I know you play a lot. For Mirage did get hit with nerfs, but then also got hit with the buff where Traveler tier 3. I mean, Mirage is quite literally getting around the map nonstop now.
Yeah, Mirage is an interesting one for sure. I actually haven't played Mirage in quite some time. I don't know why, but he became really boring for me to play. And I know a lot of people have complained about him being boring to play and also boring to play again. So I feel like he's definitely a focus for a lot of pros at the moment. But yeah, the macro that is enabled by Traveler, I think, is really awesome. I think in the pro level, what it enables, I think, is really special. So I kind of like that we're getting tuned into the Traveler aspect more. That value is a bit higher. But I am still curious as to whether Mirage is. I mean, I would assume his stocks are still going to be very, very high despite some of these tweaks. I think his base kit right now is very, very good. And teams have absolutely learned how to play him, because we went from, what was it, 319 or something, and win-loss for Mirage ZP.
Bro,
I know
like
you can't keep count. Something like that. And now it's completely just shifted just because teams have really figured it out.
A little bit of a slap on the wrist pocket there. And one of the interesting things to me, Jason, is that Drifter actually got hit with some pretty significant nerfs, and yet again, looking at the qualifiers, looking at recent scrims, people are just like, no, we still like Drifter. So it makes you wonder how viable Drifter was in the past, and it just kind of took him being maybe a little bit overstat for people to realize, no, this hero's really good, and even after the nerfs, we still want to play him.
Thing is, for me, I don't know if it's the reaction, it's the lack of reaction to nerfs for Drifter that people still end up playing him. Maybe someone's been practicing him a ton because they knew he was getting stronger and they knew he was becoming more viable when it can be competitive, and then he gets hit with some nerfs and you go into a qualifier. Do you just say, okay, well, I'm just not going to play Drifter anymore? I'm always curious, is it just the nerfs not big enough, or is it more of they've been practicing it specifically and playing around it, so they're not going to let the nerfs really interact too much? But I mean, like, the bullet damage per boon reduced quite a bit, and we saw last week alone in EU when it came to Drifter, you could just run it down in lane. I think it was Obi-Kim doing that quite consistently, and he would still come out with like second highest damage in the entire lobby. So a little bit of a hit to that damage is gonna be quite big, and that was where the majority of the damage was coming from Drifter.
All right, well, that wraps up a lot on the patches, unless you had something extra here, Dan, but otherwise, I think our draft is ready to go.
No, actually, I have a tidbit, which is that, so with the whole point around Drifter, I was tuned into Low Mainstream like a while ago now, and he made this point. He's like, look, if you go and look at what Listic is playing on the leaderboards, like the most of, you will probably find the most broken thing. And like at that time, it was like Billy and Drifter, and Drifter obviously was like the standout there because not people hadn't really caught on. The Low Main's like, this guy is like an indicator, so you should better be paying attention to that.
Wait, Jason, is the Ido standard being applied to Listic now? Because that used to be the classic Ido slander of, if you want to know it's top tier, just look at Ido's stream. He only plays top tier. And now you got Low Main saying the same about Listic.
I don't know, man. I don't know what Listic. I'm scared to go in his chat sometimes for what people are talking about in there. You talk about Zergy being the Goon Master, and I think it might have passed on to Listic. The crown has been passed. But yeah, I mean, he does play some oddball things. He plays, I think, what he kind of enjoys playing at that time, because he even had a big stint of Bebop, and Bebop wasn't really seen as this like super strong hero at the time, or would eventually become a super strong hero. But maybe just really like Drifter, and maybe things he likes are actually the really overpowered heroes in the game. But can we just, I'm so sorry, I wanted to mention one more thing. If we go back to the very top of this one when it came to the Unstable Rift, because there were changes to the minions having spirit resist and melee resist now, which I think is quite big. considering we would see, teams in comeback positions send down almost 12 of the Rift Troopers, and they would be cleared out by like heavy melees or just any spear damage being done. So hopefully this actually makes them a little bit more tankier, and you have to give a bit more respect to them.
Yeah, I mean, my baseline view when I look at it is I think heroes like Paradox may be a little bit less valued, because you'd see that Paradox went into being like a very high tier pick just from the virtue of like, oh, Rift Troopers don't care, Time Bomb instantly deals with it. Not that Paradox isn't still good for the actual fight for the Rift Troopers, but some of the wave clear heroes, definitely take a hit here. But gentlemen, the draft is ready to go. We're going to see what the teams are valuing. What has changed, if anything? Last week was probably one of the more top-heavy drafting that we've ever had here on Night Shift in terms of the haves and have-nots. I'm curious to see if this week is going to lead to any changes, especially now that we're into a best of one, where if you have any curveballs, Dan, now would be the time to try them.
Yeah, I think it'd be really cool to see a curveball. I think it's probably possible. I'm kind of curious, Graves did get some nice, well, some buffs, right? So I'm curious, what did that get pushed over the threshold? There's certainly some things to consider, but Doorman getting banned out first is certainly no curveball. Still, very, very good hero at this point in time. So that's not a surprise at all. And Pocket, Billy, these are typical bans you might see. Mirage, I think, might be actually beyond those now as well. And there he is.
Yep. So Jason, a little bit of nerfs to Mirage, but a buff, and Abraham say they don't want to deal with it. And Abraham's, by the way, they chose second pick here, still not going with first pick. What are you seeing in the cards?
Well, no, didn't Leviathan win the?
No, you actually.
You're
right. You're right. Demoff. You know what? There's part of me that's still dealing. You're right. So Leviathan won, and they went first pick, and they went Billy.
Yeah, going for Billy. So I think it's interesting because last week we were asking Mirage, we're not been asking, we've been saying that Mirage has been like a first pick quite consistently now. When he's not being banned, he's being picked first. And then we started to see in the buff enjoyers of Abraham's best of 3 that it was, let's just ban him away instead. To actually just take him out of the equation, which is quite weird considering he's not necessarily being played as like a strong M1 carry. He's more of like a secondary carry for the team, applies a lot of debuffs and still does a lot of damage while also split pushing. But with a Billy first pick coming through for Leviathan, you know what? I don't hate it. But what I am surprised to not see, though, is a Shiv not being picked top 3 so far in this draft.
Yeah, Dan, you take a look at Shiv not coming out immediately, but maybe in the next 2 for Leviathan, given Freemock's preferences. But the interesting thing here is that Abraham's, it won't be Empty Dreams on the Pocket this week, but they're still valuing Pocket as a high-tier pick, even though it's going to be a different pilot.
Yeah, and I will say, with the Viscous coming out, I really like that a lot because of obviously saves for both Infernus and Pocket's abilities. I think Viscous has in this opening 2 from Abraham's just gone up in value massively. So I like that, certainly. And I can see why they might be discouraged in going for a Shiv. I think both Pocket and Infernus could definitely make Shiv a bit lower priority. So the Calico, though, getting the Assassin in there, Calico stocks definitely still high. I think higher in NA, actually. I think EU, this is the first time I feel like I'm seeing Calico get prioritized this much.
And there it is. Drifter coming on in. The nerf's not slowing him down one bit. Interesting note in Calico, I think it was Fargareco playing it in the qualifiers. And Leviathan, they're staying really, really close to the team comp. They went in the qualifiers, Jason, but they're not going to have Empty Dreams on Pocket because it got stolen away by Abraham's.
Yeah, you know what? There's a world we could see one of the funniest things happen, that whoever's piloting Pocket for Abraham's just doesn't hit any afflictions either, and Empty Dreams just lifting up the middle finger to them, saying like, see, it's not so easy to hit them. But we'll see how it's gonna work out. Obviously, we talked a lot about Buff and Joris being one of the few teams who are really willing to let Pocket go through because they know how to play around the affliction in particular. But a Yamato being banned out, obviously with some tweaks as well coming into this last patch. I believe they reduced the range of flying slash, they increased the charge delay, and you can ally target requires different input. So it's not really massive changes. I think it's just slight nerfs to her. And yet being banned out, I didn't expect to be seen.
Dan, big changes I'm seeing here is the lack of prioritization on frontline, but I think Leviathan may be about to come in here, certainly with maybe a Shiv, but also, Overseas has been playing a lot of Abrams once again.
Yeah, that would be really, really cool to see the Abrams. Oh, Lash coming out. That's very interesting as well. Lash is one that has also, I think, lost a lot of value, at least in the last couple of weeks that we've seen. And I think when we've had Lash, performances haven't looked great too. So really interesting to see that. I think with Holiday in the mix can be hard to catch. I think Lash does serve some purpose in helping to deal with Holiday, who is so important in the meta at the moment, I think. So Apollo coming in as well. Okay, so they're going for a lot of burst damage here. Calico, Lash, Apollo. This is I kind of like how this is shaping up for Leviathan. But yeah, like you say, ZP, the lack of frontline is stark.
Yeah, I mean, right now you just got Billy over for Leviathan, but okay, Silver back in action for EU here, Jason. Silver did get that change to how often the ult is up. I think it actually is a pretty considerable change, the way like fights break down.
Second difference?
Yeah, it's quite big. But it is interesting to see what Abraham's going to finish off with here, and it's Ivy. Where we're seeing actually Demov play Ivy in qualifiers for Leviathan, so it takes away that option, but is this possibly going to be a shivless game?
I think it probably will. There's no like M1 hero for Leviathan. And I was actually going to ask this question before. Who the hell is their M1 player?
The city could use some new blood.
Because I honestly don't know on this team. I didn't see the qualifiers, so I don't know who was playing M1. Did you happen to catch that, ZP? Because Empty Dreams, I think he played it for a little bit within Abraham's, but then it went over to Arzo, and before him it was Sonya Sniper.
Yeah, I mean, for M1 for Abraham's, I would be thinking they'd be looking.
No, for Leviathan.
Oh, so yeah. Well, for Leviathan, I think it's probably gonna be Demov. Like Demov played Mina in one of the games too. That he wasn't on the Ivy, and based on what they have here, I mean, presumably it's probably gonna be Demov on the Mina that is collecting a good chunk of the farm. Because you take a look at Leviathan here, Dan. In terms of who you're gonna portion a lot of farm to, I mean, realistically, a lot of it seemingly is gonna have to go to the Mina.
Yeah, you would definitely expect so, and it's very interesting because it is a pretty nasty hit squad. Apollo, Lash, Calico, Billy. Like the chase down here is pretty disgusting, and that does of course leave Mina a lot of space to farm into also 1v1. Whoever Mina might be looking to go up against here, I guess. Looking at the Abraham's roster, it might be Infernus, I suppose.
I don't think there's going to be necessarily, when we get to team fights, I don't think there's going to be an opportunity for Mina to have freedom, though. I mean, just the Ivy alone with what we've seen the last 2 weeks, it's like the sire treatment. Let me pick up someone and we're going to dive straight in towards their back line, which I would guess is probably going to be Drifter, maybe Infernus in this case, or potentially Silver, and then just kill Mina and don't give her a chance to really even, be in these fights. Obviously, you do have the cube to help you out, which is going to be huge. You have the chain gang to maybe pull people away, maybe the Lash for protection, but there's a lot of dive coming away from Mina, but luckily she does have a strong front line.
All right, so we got to start putting on the record here. From what we've seen here on this draft, Dan, who do you look at here and go, you know what, I like that draft a little bit more?
I do like some of the elements of both drafts. I think if I'm leaning one way, I kind of like what we're seeing from Leviathan. I think it's going to be very explosive and just fun to watch. But I do think that the Drifter's ultimate to steal away vision, I think it's actually going to be very impactful against a lot of the abilities here, or shutting down a lot of the capacity for the Leviathan to get setups off of a Lash ult and just chase people down, to stop Viscous, cubing people, or to create situations where Pocket can get maybe a bit more of an advantage for positioning to really secure those afflictions. So I think the utility of Abraham's, I think, will be pretty dangerous to deal with. So I can see a lot going both ways, but stylistically, I'm kind of liking Leviathan's draft.
Jason, for Abraham's, do they need more frontline than just together on the Silver, or can you see this one working out?
No, I actually look at Abraham's and I'm kind of favoring them, to be honest. I don't see how you miss an affliction when there's like an Apollo, Calico, Billy, Viscous, and potentially like Lash in your face. These should be like 2-3 man afflictions happening. And Leviathan, I think it comes down to maybe itemization. I think maybe Viscous, maybe Billy will build into a DB to potentially counter it, or obviously have counter spell. I don't know. I like that. I like the fact you have Infernus as well, which if you do steal away the vision as Drifter, Infernus coming with the combustion with a warp stone, you're gonna get blasted and you're gonna eat so much damage. Plus you have a lasso as well to boot. I don't know, man. I'm kind of favoring Abraham's here. I mean, obviously I'm kind of favoring them when it comes to the series, but like their comp, it's so much damage. I feel like even like a lot of mobility as well. It's gonna be hard for Leviathan's front line to really stack up against this.
Yeah, I mean, the more I look at this draft here, Dan, the one thing that kind of strikes out to me is that I actually think, in metas where, both teams are effectively only running one, character that could be, sort of designated as frontline. Silver, is kind of in between. Billy, of course, is like very hard frontline. There's a lot to be said on who is playing these characters and what they're able to do for it. Like, I look to Leviathan and it's like, okay, a lot of their good team fight potential relies on Billy having a great engage. And for Abraham's, a lot is going to rely on together, not getting picked off early on the Silver to, create enough space to have opportunities for the Pocket, the Infernus, or the Holiday to get pickoffs. But in terms of pressure being applied from how we've seen these heroes get played, I do think the Abraham's comp is pretty scary in just how much pressure they're going to be able to apply in the early and the mid game.
I do agree, and I think that there's a lot of tools that can help them to really mess with the momentum in these fights of Leviathan, just like some knockdowns, for example, like, against the Mina, against the Apollo, against the Lash. Like these are going to have a lot of value in this game, I think. And in addition to all of the things you just mentioned for Abrahams that they'll have in, just inherently within the kit that they have off the roster. And I think Infernus in particular, also really, really dangerous. We're seeing in the Infernus build, the way that it's kind of transpired, that there's a bit more focus on getting ult to like level 2 more quickly. And, that's going to be really, really helpful against all these heroes that are grouped up, like Jason was saying.
Jason, you've raised your hand. What is on your mind?
Have you noticed we actually know who's on who now at the bottom of the screen? That production just put in the names, so we actually know who's playing what. So ours is gonna be on Infernus, Tass is gonna be on Drifter, Shark gonna be on Holiday. This is nice. I like this.
Is it good or is it bad? Because sometimes we have to fill, and it's like sometimes we actually spend a good couple minutes on like trying to like figure it out. So I don't know if I'm liking it or hating it.
Yeah, I mean, nothing really too surprising here. I think the interesting thing for me is that looking at the overall player history is that after the Shiv nerfs, Leviathan has said, you know what, we'd rather have Fremok on Apollo than Shiv. That was a 1-1 decision. Nothing was given up, and I don't really think anything was blocked in turn. That was just, yep, we're putting Fremok on it. And I mean, Fremok has played a good amount of Apollo in the past, so it's not entirely unprecedented, but we don't have to speculate anymore. The game is good to go. On the mic, it's going to be Jason and DDK. Jason, take it away.
Oh, Dan, let Dan do it. Let Dan do it. Dan, take it away.
You don't have the authority, Jason. You cannot tell me what to do. Only ZP can.
Okay, fine. I'll take it away. All right, we're about to head into our challenger match here. Why you have to do this to me, Dan? I was so ready for you to take things away with that beautiful, sultry voice you have coming over from the UK, who's battling for their lives right now against Argentina in the World Cup. But all of the eyes are focused on what's happening here, trying to get into our money match with Leviathan and Abrahams going head-to-head here to kick things off.
Yes. I do believe that ultimately the read, I think both you and ZP had on the roster or the draft of Abrahams that it definitely feels scarier to me, a bit more well-rounded as well. So I would expect them to be pretty strong. And for me, Jason, it does put more pressure on Leviathan to have that to end that laning phase with the initiative. Maybe getting the first Guardian against their opponents down first, so they can start roaming first, start taking control of the game in that way to build the momentum and really capitalize off of all this spirit burst damage that they have in the chase down. Do you feel the same way about how this kind of has to go?
Honestly, I feel like I can never predict how things are really going to go when it comes to pro matches, Dan. I feel like in my head, they work out one way, in execution, they work out a different way, and then what we see actually break down in a game is just another complete different direction. But I have to say this, though, because I was a little bit distracted while you were asking, is that Chrysana 14 came in with another 10 gifted, but with the note for Dan to give us 10 of those amazing yes.
Oh, really? Wait. Production, is this true? I feel like Jason is just saying that I cannot trust him. I need confirmation. This must be verified. Oh, I can't trust him. And once that's verified, the goods will be delivered, Jason.
Well, you can't put a note in gifted subs, or I don't believe you can. So you're safe this time. I know he's not safe. Arizumi gets dropped here on the Viscous, getting a little bit aggressive with the Silver and Drifter lane, which honestly isn't a lane you want to see get too far ahead. I mean, Tass, we've never really seen him unleashed past these initial pick heroes. Excited to see what he can do on Drifter in this game.
Yeah, it's going to be really cool. I don't actually think that the nerfs I think were probably kind of needed. I think Drifter was pretty strong, but I think it doesn't really change the value that he has in the game. And very cool to see him back into the meta, and I think more of a reasonable way. So in terms of the laning phase itself, Jason, I am also curious where you stand on that in terms of how you're liking these lanes for either team. If you see one that should be pulling ahead here. So far, things are pretty even, Stevens.
Well, first of all, Krasaka, thanks for the 10 gifted as well, coming in big from week to week to week. We very much appreciate all the support you guys are giving us. Especially you two with the 10 gifted every single time. Oh, come on. What about Chrysana now? But when it comes to the lanes, I think I like the rebuttal pickups for Abrahams on the left-hand side. Already getting some early kills before the cube comes online out of Irizumi helps give you that initial control as well. And I think they're even looking to possibly freeze the lane, if I'm not mistaken. The mid lane, though, that one I'm kind of curious about how that actually is going to play out. Because you have an Ivy and a Holiday together. And a Holiday, obviously a lot of poke, a lot of damage. Ivy, you have like wave clear, which I guess can be helpful against a Calico and a Drifter. But the thing is, you don't really have the mobility on those two pre-ultimate to rotate in and prevent any of these ganks happening, which we can see happen on the right hand side. It's already going to be Sai looking for some kills on the right lane because he has the ability with Ava to just quickly like float between these lanes, and I don't think there's a response out of Abraham's for that.
Yeah, like you said earlier, it'd be interesting to see how it actually just pans out as we see the game unfold in front of us. Nice steal attempt here coming through from Taz, actually going to be successful for, taking away all the tier 1 creeps. So nice pressure on this lane on the left side of the map. Billy Viscous does feel very dangerous, but again, a lot of damage output. Honestly, there's possible this raw damage from Silver and Drifter. You can see that is a trade that's been working well for them, though. In comes the potential attempt for Billy to punish, but there's the cube. In response, both teams liking the looks of this fight and going for it. Parry comes out, missing the timing on that one. And it looks like it's very weak, and Overseas will finally go down. Drifter continuing to barrage, and they kind of baited them into that one. Very well played from Taz and Together.
Yeah, very well done. Again, like rebuttal can be extremely strong, as you're seeing right there, having the parries up a little bit quicker, and obviously the extra healing that you get on top of one of those successful parries. But the damage, I mean, yeah, like Viscous and Billy can do some, some decent damage, but I don't think it can come close to like a Silver and a Drifter who are just pumping at you, especially with Stalker picked up as well. The second you turn, like the second you try to do anything against that, you're just taking a lot of extra damage over time. Not to mention, Irizumi trying to go for the contest here on the gun buff, getting chased down, and let me lose this pretty much half his HP just for the contest alone. You can kind of see the mismatch right now of how much stronger Abraham's here on this left-hand side are.
Yeah, and it's a lot of bullet damage primarily. So in theory, there might be some ways to kind of get your resist up to kind of tool against it. Item-wise, but just like maybe practically speaking, that's just not even enough at this stage of the game. And the damage across the entire team is pretty, I think, well balanced between gun and spirit. So just a little note on that fact. And again, just pilfering the tier 1 camp just consistently. And this is absolutely a losing lane for Leviathan. Are they making up for it anywhere else, though? That's the question.
I mean, this lane is just continuing to get further ahead, Dan, and I'm getting just really worried in general for Leviathan. I mean, the thing is, it's the best one at the end of the day. And if they continue to farm you like they currently are, I mean, Irizumi on 2.6k, Overseas on 3.7 at least. They're just being dove. Light Concur's coming on through as well, and that's gonna be another kill being added to the tally here for Abraham's. And it feels like, honestly, have they even lost anyone? Maybe no, I don't think they died at all. I mean, they're probably gonna die right here and lose one, but still, Abraham's just completely been winning out on the burger box. And actually, Silver might not even die. Together forces Empty Dreams back, his ex-teammate, and lives for now. Okay,
oh, Billy coming in though.
Surviving now. Oh my god, he survives! What happened? How?
That is tragic. Absolutely tragic. Now, there's going to be a lot of issues, I think, here in this game right now for Leviathan, because I would have said that the Apollo Mina lane might have been kind of nice just on paper against Infernus as well as Pocket. You got all that spirit damage that should, I think, allow you to have some good trades, but they've been having a hard time on the right side lane. They've managed to get some good tower damage, but again, going back to the kills, it really feels to be a very well-managed game so far by Abraham's on both sides of the map.
Yeah, I think the thing is, like, Mina, especially with like the burst from her 3, can really do a lot of damage to Pocket because the negative spirit resist. I think that's a lane you're not really expecting to win, but the fact that they're, still doing relatively well against them is a very good sign. But the problem is, who's going to help out this left-hand side? We had the rotate come out of Overseas to try to protect, or sorry, that's Overseas coming back in to try to help this one, but he wasn't able to hold them back, and they need to get a kill. They need some sort of answer. They get the damage done, but they can't get the finish.
Sully. Oh, we're seeing push here once again. Oh, popping the return to shadows. We'll see if that's going to get Calico out of dodge. The chase down continuing on forwards, and I don't think you can get away. There's no way, surely. The slicing, the slashing of the claws working out, and the parry is going to also potentially yield some value as the chase onto Viscous will succeed. Oh no, again, Jason. This is outrageous.
Somebody stop. Don't tell me you're gonna 1v3 this. Someone stop Together. What just happened? He's on 7.1k souls. I asked the question, what are they gonna do to shut down this lane to have some sort of response? They send 3 players there, and that still wasn't enough to take down the Titan of Together.
Almost has Hunter's aura up as well. That's it's just so much damage potential. I think especially chasing people down with a Drifter, that's going to be very, very painful indeed. So not good times, I think it's fair to say, for the Leviathan team. They're so far behind, Jason, at this time in the map. It is extremely concerning.
So the problem, like the big problem, like it's already bad enough you're losing the lane, but then you send over Sai to help out, and then they lose the fight with Sai there. So not only does it keep the two who were originally in that lane behind, Sai also falls behind because of this. Irazumi still doesn't have ult online, and we're 9 minutes into the game. He's on 3.3k souls so far. Sai's at 4.6, and we're at 11k lead 9 minutes in. These are leads that you should not lose. Like these are leads that just end games.
Especially at this level, and with a team that is as good as Abraham's, of course. And definitely, despite some of the changes that they've made to the roster, still ultimately the core. And I mean, together being so ahead on Silver especially, I don't know that that's very common to see. And I think Silver in general is a hero that has been seen less, despite still being, I would say, very, very strong. It's just kind of fell out of favor in the meta. So the problem with that is that Silver is able to get so much done in these team fights, able to create so much space, especially, with that Lycan form. And so I think it's just so much worse that it's together that is this far ahead at this time.
Together has shown us so many times, especially on heroes like Shiv, that he can take, like, he can run away with the game. He's very good at doing that. And I think Abraham's, at least like the older version of Abraham's, were very good at allowing him to do things like that and working around him. But 9.1k and Tass on 8.5. I mean, we haven't even talked about ours though, because honestly, most of the action's been in this one lane alone, but he's also at 9.2k farm. These three players, pretty much, if you just combine their net worth, have almost equal to what Leviathan have in total.
Oh my god, Arizumi's on 4.7k right now, so just terribly behind. And there we go, concussive combustion. We did mention it's going to be problematic to deal with. Obviously, when you get counter spells, easy to counter spell, but the fight continues and the stat difference is notable, and they are getting just chased down. Not a problem here for Taz on Drifter.
Oh, he's looking for the hyperline. He's just going to get the kill outright.
Easy does it. Guns getting turned in at the same time, Jason. It's an absolute car wreck.
There's no one even there to help defend that push. They're trying to counter push on the left-hand side to look for a kill themselves. Can we actually get a graph of the kills so far in this game? Because I am still not 100% sure that Leviathan have gotten a kill yet. They have not gotten a kill yet. And 10 kills for the tag team duo up together in Task, the double T's.
Yo, I don't know that that's a thing that we see here on the show. It would be kind of interesting if that's a stat that we can one day understand. But I mean, that feels very unusual, and I think it creates a problem too that the kills are not dispersed. So you get again Taz and Together being so far ahead and getting popped by Sanya's sniper. That's not going to help matters anymore.
Okay, I have to say this. I have to be, a little bit relaxed here, because obviously this is Leviathan with some pretty big changes, right? They're practicing with some different players. Dreams just came into the roster. Dimov is still getting adjusted to the team as well. So to me, it's not super surprising to see a result line like this, because Abrahams are one of those teams that if they start to win early, they really try to stranglehold you and really run away with the game. So it's not surprising to see this kind of lead build up, but it is very entertaining to watch, I will say.
Yeah, absolutely. And one of the clear signs of a team, well, as they do manage to get, maybe their first kill onto Taz. But yeah, the signs of a team that is fundamentally sound at the top level is that when they get ahead, they get more ahead. You understand how to leverage the advantage and keep converting. And that's exactly what Abrahams are so good at.
Yeah. And I mean, you're still looking at a 12k lead. They had the first earn. They haven't really started to group for big pushes anywhere. They're still just farming up at the moment. And Sonya's kind of alone on the left-hand side, potentially going to be picked off here with just 11k and less than half HP. I'd be surprised to see him survive. And that's going to be a second kill coming through for Leviathan at a decent time. The problem is the Rift's going to be on the right-hand side of the map, though. There's going to be a one-on-one contest here, and Together's still going to be there to clean up the kill into Dimov. So they're trying to make pushes. They get some kills. They get a Guardian. They are trying to close the gap. It's still 10k, 13 minutes in. It's just so much.
It is rather large, and there's a rift going there though for overseas. So Leviathan are going to be able to get some comeback. Troopers, they are a bit better than before too, which I think it's really interesting as we continue to see the rifts being new. It'd be interesting to see how he's getting kind of dialed.
Yeah, and yeah, I'm curious. Like, the thing is, one thing I love about the dev team is that they're super open and willing to do these like kind of drastic changes, especially that people forget we're in closed alpha. Like, this game was technically under NDA, you know, was it like 2 years ago, and they're still making some big changes, adding some massive like gameplay mechanics and like gameplay loops with this unstable rift. I'm curious if they're gonna add in maybe another one at some point, or maybe continue to change things. As right now, Together is looking to change the world here on Silver, one viscous at a time. Irazumi, nowhere he can go. Gets picked off yet again here. 16k souls for Together. The lead hasn't grown though, Dan. I will say that it's been holding pretty steady here at 10k.
Yeah, definitely. I was also looking at that, and one of the issues though is that so much has been stolen away. So in terms of what's on the Leviathan side of the map, so they're going to be able to hunt down Freemark as well with these very aggressive invades. They are just battering this right side Walker also, and in the meantime, we do have a potential attempt on Sanya's sniper's life, but so slippery the pocket, very hard to lock down, even with the changes, because I think what we got a slower cloak cooldown now, I think, so to make him a little bit less slippery.
I see the enemy.
10 kill streak for Together. Just FYI here. Size of the fall. Task to pick that up. And if I'm Demov, I maybe wouldn't be going into that fight. Especially with Shark here around the... We haven't even talked about Shark, actually. And no offense to him at all. It's just been all pretty much about Together and Task on the left-hand lane as they get the urn yet again. 17k for him. 16k for Arzo. I mean, you were just gapping so many different players on your opposing team as Alaska comes on through into a stomp. The Cube's gonna land, and we're gonna see a skirmish break out here. But again, Leviathan, you are not the favorite team here in this fight.
Yeah, certainly not. Looking to do what they can here, Leviathan, to try to fend off the Abraham's players. But here Looms Together, just dodging the lash. Oh, still carrying the urn, of course, and looking to turn that one in. And I gotta say, Jason, I really love this approach, that Together is the one just already, you know, the most ahead player, but continuing to get the focus with the urn, just able to push further ahead. And obviously also, Silver's not a hero that you're looking to farm the camps with necessarily. So it's a way to keep Together ahead and keep Together very active on the map while still having a big stat check difference against the opponents.
And the thing is, once you think you've got him killed, I mean, that Lycan curse just getting you like a little bit more topped off, a little bit more tanky as well. They're going for a mid boss here, and I don't hate the timing. 15k lead. They have a kill. They also have vision of 2 other players because of Sonya Sniper's position. They also know there's no Death Slam coming on through. There's really no way to prevent this one from actually being turned around with. They don't really have a comp either for Leviathan to stop this. Affliction hits one. It connected, chat. It hit one player at least. I think that might have been the first one of the game.
All right, there we go. Not bad, not bad. Big difference here to chase down onto Viscous. Would imagine the cube is available, but hey, the damage output, it is painful. So painful. The Veil Walker is kind of nasty, I gotta say, Jason. I've been enjoying seeing the return of Veil Walker as an item. On Paradox, we get to see it a lot on these heroes that are playmakers looking to initiate. You know, the Veil Walker into a lasso is certainly very, very scary.
He's come over to support Together again. Looking for the barrels, Empty Dreams. He just wanted the 1v1. This is a 1v1 you don't want to take here. Oh my gosh. Someone call 911. We just saw a murder. It's just not stopping. 21k. 20k lead. They have Rejuve as well. They lost one Rejuve. I didn't see who actually was the one to lose out on it. It was Sonya, as I can see here on the overlay. But Together, man, he's just everywhere. And the thing is, they're constantly choking Leviathan out when it comes to any camps they can pick up on their side of the map, denying as much economy as possible, only really gifting them the lanes. And that's why this league continues to grow. It's because they're just constantly in the enemy side of the map. Look at their own side of the jungle, man. They have so many camps up. They even have a couple sinners. They don't want to be on their side of the map. They just want to continue to prevent Leviathan from getting any sort of comeback.
Yeah, and it's definitely something that we were pointing out earlier too, just the leveraging that advantage, you know, being so aggressive, pressing continually on the opponents, just making it so that it's very hard for them to find opportunity. You do put yourself in maybe some risk that you could get picked, but at the same time, like keeping that pressure on, it is such a big win. And now pressure onto this mid Walker, And we'll see what the response is from Leviathan. They don't really have too many players here, so this could actually go very well for Abrahams. Leviathan needs to be very, very cautious. They have 3 players not in this fight at the moment, so it looks like a big opportunity here for Abrahams, and Taz potentially chasing down the Viscous, at least chasing him away. And that's going to enable a very vulnerable Walker to get taken out.
Yeah, it's just gone. It's out of here. And the thing is, I think Leviathan realized we can't 6v6 them. We can't 7v6 them anymore. Like, bring in the coach or something. I think it's Parzival coach. Then bring him on in, and then 7-6 wouldn't work here at this case. With the two rejuves as well, they can just be free to siege that Walker and really have no worry as long as they're paying attention to the Death Slime. The position they were taking wasn't going to let a Death Slime do anything. And now we're going into one of the tankiest heroes on the team, and he immediately just says, nope, I'm out, and runs away. They might be able to catch together here. Rejuve's still up for another 18 seconds of time, though, so even if they kill him, they don't really kill him.
Yeah, no kidding. Rift coming up as well. Full map control there for Abrahams. Every lane is pushed. And the Rift will spawn. And now the attack comes in from Leviathan, looking to push into that Rift territory. And from the sidelines, we've got Abrahams looking to collapse onto Leviathan. We'll see if their angle of engagement is going to help them out here. Especially, obviously, they also have the lead on Souls pretty heavily. And now finally together coming in off the Zip as well to assist in this fight. And just in the corner here, there's the Ivy drop coming in for a big silence. We'll see if the Gargoyle Form is going to do some extra setup. And Saint gets 3 players off of that. Leviathan getting absolutely demolished.
3-man affliction into 3 kills. Really well done here for Abrahams. And I like the way they attack that too. They let Leviathan have the rift because they're going to be stronger while they're within the rift. Fight him after it's done, and just deal with the minions that come out after getting 3-4 kills here. They have a huge advantage in terms of manpower, and obviously when it comes to souls. 21k now, 20 minutes in. And this Walker, I mean, it's a delicious treat, and together is ready to chomp down on it.
Absolutely.
What's your favorite treat, Dan? I mean, you're from the UK, so like curly whirlies for me are like one of my favorite things when I go to the UK. But I mean, when it comes to the US, what's like your favorite treat?
Cross-fed steak, Jason.
Okay, so I meant like more, I guess, candy, not like,
Candied
like
elk
main
jerky.
dish. Okay. I'll count it. Never had it, but I'll count. Oh my God! Where did he go?
Oh my God, they're getting absolutely destroyed here. The chase continues. Oh, just when it felt like they had maybe alleviated some of the pressure, reality just biting them again in the face. I guess kind of literally there with together looking indomitable on that silver pick. Hiding under the walk here as well. Okay, Italo-san. Is that good? Yeah, okay, it's going to secure the kill into Sharik, but it feels, the hope feels far away for Leviathan, despite getting that pick.
It opens up a flex slot, but again, I don't really think they have the economy for that to matter a whole lot. And Task just continue to go on the chase, got toxic bullets. It's taking a little bit of damage, but yeah, the Ren hurts. And that's a dead cat. Sai goes down. Steel's being chased in the mid lane, but he's just going to retreat away. He's going to be more than fine. Now Dimov might not be so fine. Doesn't have Sanguine retreat, fully maxed out here, but obviously has the charges to get away with the Dispel Magic. So you got to give credit, like for Leviathan, they're still looking for ways to get back in this game. They haven't kind of just given up, which honestly, if I was in one of my games, I would have, seen the first 5 minutes and be like, yeah, I'm out, guys. I'll take the L for the team here for the 5-minute mark. But they're still trying. They're trying to figure something out, and I think that's a good sign for them as a team, is to not just give up and play out any situation. Try to learn from this the best you can.
Yeah, and it is tough though, especially given that the nature of some of the picks here. I think we set it up. They need to get ahead a little bit early, get that initiation a little bit early. They should be the ones running the map and running the ganks and forcing Abrahams to respond. But really that Together and Taz lane, Silver Drifter duo, it just got too far ahead too quickly and really just completely dashed the chances of having that kind of a game. And they've just been behind the entire time. And then once you've got a Holiday on the other side as well, there's always a threat looking for these picks. Life gets kind of scary. And speaking of which, we still have a lasso available. Veil Walker has been triggered. Is there anybody to find? We're not around here.
I think they're waiting for mid boss now with 20 seconds. I think it's a bit risky, to be honest. I think you're still most likely going to win the fight and probably win it with at least 2 crystals. But you still need to respect the Death Slam and the Chain Gang. You still have to respect those two together. And I think for Abrahams, we've seen in the past be be so willing to go for these like Hail Mary mid bosses in situations they don't need to. So seeing a little bit of composure out of them, I think would be kind of ideal for the maturity of the team. And just look for a couple of picks in the fight. I mean, it's already started to break out towards middle. TAS under some pressure. It's Eternal Knight up against Demov and Sign. Demov's gonna be the first one to fall here, so a good start here for Abrahams to take a mid boss.
Suddenly, and there's another collection there for together. 13 kill streak. That's kind of a... It's not a good sign. That's not a good sign. In comes Arzo as well, looking to drop in from the zip line, keeping that pressure on. Mid boss again is still available as they look to go for a commitment here. Lycanthorpe, is that going to be able to get picked up here? Gets stunned out there just in the nick of time. Lycancurse comes out, but the HP is falling very rapidly until finally together, and that kill streak has been demolished. Maybe going a little deep here, Jason, into the base.
I'm looking at this, I'm thinking, is this potentially a mid boss out of them actually? I would still respect Arzo on 30k souls. I think they might go for it. Oh no, they're trying to bait a kill. They're trying to bait someone out. Maybe make him think they're going towards mid boss here. I mean, the thing is, Together died. He died for 70 seconds of time. That is an eternity in the world of Deadlock here. And they're going to start to poise for it. They're starting to get the initial control around it. They're using Freemock on the high ground here to push them back, and they're going to go for the mid boss. There's still a very real world Arzo could steal this away, especially with Saint by the side.
We'll see if there's an attempt. Arzo is close. He looms. There's a concussive combustion. The steal attempt here coming on through. Can they get any of the crystals? Knight's parry comes through. There's going to be 1 for 1. Right now, still 1 crystal available as the punches come in. And an extra one going to Leviathan here. This is exactly what they needed. Looking to do more damage. They could potentially wipe Abrahams, who now just have a couple squishies remaining. And in fact, both, well, just one is going to go down, leaving Saint alone. And it is a team wipe. They still have a Rejuve crystal remaining. Urn is going to be collected. And they've got one wave crashing into the walker on the right side. This is definitely problematic for Abrahams.
Well, together, the raid boss has spawned back in, though the raid boss hasn't actually maintained his lead. Look at Empty Dreams. He's on 29k. Overseas is on 26k, and Together's only on 28, though he has been a part of a ton of kills. This is a little bit risky now. Like the Leviathan, they do have some comeback potential here. I still think they have to respect Abrahams, even though they got the Rejuve. They closed the gap a bit. It's still a pretty significant difference between the two. And honestly, for me, like Empty Dreams, I don't necessarily want him to be the one that's super fed. I would want to see like Sai having more farm, Overseas and Demov having a little bit more farm, maybe Freemock as well. But actually, can we take a look at Empty Dreams' build? I actually haven't like really been paying attention to where he's going. If he's going like Spirit, or if he's going more towards Gun. It looks like it's more towards a Gun Lash with the Spell Slinger picked up.
Well, once again, you got a lot of problems for coming from Taz. Look at the damage coming through. It's going to deal with that Rejuve crystal that was remaining, and it might actually get a conversion. Hey, I don't know that Apollo's going to have too much luck escaping this one. Freemock's trying to dodge out of there. Very mobile hero, but again, just needs a Stalker's Mark. And in fact, I mean, if you got this much damage, you're good to go.
Yeah, Siphon waited, Spell Slinger. I mean, while the fight broke out on the right, the fight's breaking out on the left as well here. Trying to go for the Unstable Rift, and Together's been able to get the control with that Lycancurse. Demov trying to hover around here, trying to keep it contested potentially towards their favor, but they're losing on too many players. Sai comes on in, turns to Shadows, but also going to be returning to base here in just a few seconds as Empty Dreams is able to take push out a kill on the Saint, if I get my words done correctly. But they're still going to be secured for Abrahams, and unfortunately Leviathan, that momentum they got off that mid boss has been stumped.
All right, well, Leviathan, I mean, doing a great job just staying in this game, creating opportunities. I mean, if we think back here, Jason, you know, some of it you could argue came off the back of Together, sacrificing the kill streak, just diving into the base when mid boss was up. And I think, you know, like that could be potentially where Abrahams, you know, allowed this game to get a little bit scary. But the pressure comes back on from them, looking for some pressure on the base Guardian on the left side, forcing a response here, and they've got to be careful here not to lose Arzo. Very weak.
Let's go yellow.
They're still committing for this one. They might be able to get a catch on a TAS here. And Abrahams, I mean, 77 seconds he's dead for. A little bit of an affliction comes on in, catches out Freemock, and turns it around into Sonya for a stun. But that is going to continue to tick away, and he will fall. So keeping things equal with a 1-for-1 trade here. But I mean, honestly, DDK, like the way Abrahams are playing, it seems like they're just getting a little bit too relaxed because this game's still not over.
Yeah, I totally agree. And it does come into conflict with previously in the first 20 minutes of the game where they were playing the lead very effectively, just keeping things tight, keeping the pressure on, not giving too many opportunities away to Leviathan, really giving us the impression it should be open and shut, but seems anything but at this point as the mid walker from Leviathan is under focus and they've managed to catch in the subway a potential kill here. All the lasso is going to be missing just before the return to shadows comes through.
Time to move.
The trade of ultimates there.
Yeah, they're still looking for their picks using Psy. Scout things out. Especially with Task Dead, a little bit easier to do so as stealthy-like as you want.
I see Billy.
And together, I mean, he's kind of doing something similar. He's still very far pushed up, very aggressive on the left-hand side jungle. He has to support, though, the Shark on the Holiday. Also, the quick rotations that Sonya and Ars is going to be here. He might be able to get the catch and overseas combustion. Combustion is going to come on through. The cube does save him from that stun. Deathslam also going off at the same time. Not sure how many caught out onto. But so far, Leviathan have lost out on one.
And here comes Together back into the action again. With that Lycan Curse, it's very, very difficult to deal with, creating all the space. Big focus fire though, and just taking a lot of heat. Has to play it somewhat more cautiously. A couple players down at the moment for Abrahams. Mid-boss is not too far away. They've got to be cautious not to give up any kills here. Again, they just absolutely cannot allow another mid-boss to go to Leviathan because of just poor timing on these engagements.
There's the urn yet again. I'm wondering if Together's going to go for the pickup another time for it. I think Psy's actually spotted him out. But the thing is, Psy has to be very careful. He's down 10k in souls to his counterpart there. Well, Leviathan are still looking to run objectives, and I think it's such a tricky time to do so, because if you go for the urn and you lose players, you're ultimately giving up mid-boss when it's up, which is up in 20 seconds. But I think the upside for them here, Dan, is Abrahams aren't contesting it, so they're just going to shove out the lanes, maybe look for an opportunity to take mid-boss themselves once they get some control of the map.
Yeah, and very different story here. Yes, now starting to see the urn being able to be collected by Leviathan on free mark when there was so much map control earlier in the game that you could never imagine that happening. The boss is up, and pressure now on this right side from free mark. Pretty mobile, but a lasso can change that.
They go for the chase. I mean, Shark's actually gotten around towards the side. Demov's here for reinforcements. Empty Dream's coming on through as well from base on the zip line. Abraham's looking to back away, but Together, he's being airdropped out of this one by Saint. And the fight is just going to break out. Affliction could go huge here for Sonya, who's just joined the party. Deathslam looking to be thrown on in just a few seconds of time when it is up, but Tass already picks up 2 kills without the help of the Affliction. And Leviathan, I mean, they had an opportunity to set up for a kill, but now they have to just run away back to their base and give up mid-boss.
Again, so I've got to be so careful about that mid-boss. Empty Dreams having quite the performance here on this Lash. Really creating opportunities here for Leviathan as they will manage to close down onto site to finish off the Calico kill. And surely this enables now the follow through that should end. And I think what has turned into a close game between Leviathan and Abrahams here. Because I can't imagine that there's much challenge from Leviathan. They'll have to try to do something you'd expect, but I mean, there's no tools to even try, it seems like. Mina, Viscous, the only players close, but again, just not really the players or tools available to do anything about this. So the crystals will all go to Abrahams and should be smooth sailing from here, Jason.
Now they're going for the chase down though onto Empty Dreams here. You can hear the airdrop out of Ivy looking for the chase. Gets silenced up, gets rescue beamed away, and actually might be able to pull off the great escape here, though Demov might not be so lucky. Easily could be turned around on. And the worst time here for Leviathan is a risk spot on this side of the map where Abrahams already are.
Can they catch him? Very, very dangerous player so far in this game. Empty Dreams on the Slash finding a lot of value, but pretty mobile. But still, like there's a lot of chase down tools available.
He could be seen by Drifter though, so it's like he's gonna know where you're going the whole time.
And there's some of the value of Drifter, coming into play.
And with him dead too, they have no Death Slam. They have no big wombo to their combo. I mean, obviously you do have Chain Gang, but the Death Slam was one thing to set that up as well. With the 3 Reju's on Abraham's side, I wouldn't be surprised to see them finally push down the base here. Maybe see how they can redeem himself from before, as he went for an extremely egregious dive, which cost him his life in a 70-second cooldown. But we're going to see the shrines go down for sure. 50 seconds still left on Empty Dreams. I don't think there's really any contestants for Leviathan. You just hit the world's craziest chain gang.
Well, here we go. We'll see what they can manage to make happen in this position. It's going to be Mina trying to defend, and Demov can't really do too much in this spot. They're going to try to mount some kind of a defense here, but Abraham's looking very clean on this particular assault. I think this is it, Jason. I mean, there's nothing really to send them back.
20 seconds. That's the window they have to work with here. Char's going to lose a reju. They actually lost out on 2 now. I think that's Saint to lose 1. They're still picking up kills, and for Leviathan, they need to defend without losing on players. That's a 3-man affliction coming on through. Demov, I resuming overseas. Empty Dreams has spawned in now. He's got Death Sum available. I don't know if Abraham's going to stick around for this, though. Oh, he used it early. He used it so early to only catch 1.
And I mean, the Hidden King is about to get taken out. So finally, Abraham's, I mean, it was a tricky one. Some hiccups here and there, but oh, hello. We've got some defenders jumping in for the invulnerability. They want one last fight before this one gets taken out, but they got to stay in the pit here to ensure that they keep that invulnerability going together. Sanya dealing with those defenders, and victory is Abraham's.
All right. Unlike England, Abraham's able to maintain their lead here against Leviathan, even though it did get a little bit sticky into the mid game. Abraham's came in with a clear game plan. They got together way ahead of the game, and anyone that might have thought, gee, Silver's still playable, well, a quick little buff, and that was all that was needed. And I gotta say, take me through this one, Jason, because Abraham's had an edge throughout a lot of this game, but it did get close for a moment, courtesy of Leviathan.
Yeah, it was. I think it kind of all kicked off with Together getting caught out. I mean, just diving. I think he got too cocky and just said, I'm gonna just dive your base and not really care. And with that, there was a period of a turnaround, and there was a window of opportunity for Leviathan, but I say a window that was slightly cracked open, because honestly, even with that comeback, it was still such a big lead for Abraham's. And I think it was also such a big kind of comp difference too, because they could just roam around in the jungle, and they always had Shark there to support Together. He did that quite a bit, just kind of hovering around him when he did go deep in the jungle. They starved them so early on in the game too when it came to the jungle, just denying away as many camps as possible, all based off the fact the lead the left lane had. There was a window, but Leviathan, unfortunately, they're just not there yet. Not there yet to open up that window wide enough for them to pull off the comeback.
Other stories in this game, Dan, that are worth looking at as the day goes on is that we had the return of Sherrick to competitive play. And, Sherrick, last tour of duty was playing more things like Warden, more in an M1 role, or rather position 1 role, playing M1s. And in this case, comes in on the holiday. What do you think about the re-debut of Sherrick?
I think it looks pretty good. I think it's interesting, though, because it's one of those games where the start was so good for Together and Taz. I don't know how much to say about Sherrick just yet, because all the space was sort of, I think, one off of the success of that early lane and that duo, and just how far ahead they got, because so much of the map was there to work with. And one of the things I think that's really interesting about a good holiday player is what they're able to create when the map state is a little bit more even, and the pressure isn't just a given. And so for me, it's I think it was a good performance. I think the job that was supposed to be done was executed correctly, but Holiday is such an impactful hero. I want to see more before making a judgment.
Jason, you concur? Obviously, again, we're probably going to be seeing a lot more of Sherrick on his return to competitive play, but, it's kind of interesting when you haven't seen a player in, such a long period of time at this level of play.
I'm not gonna lie, I kind of forgot he was even in the game. I mean, I saw him hit 1 lasso. That was it. I'm not necessarily let me find my button. I'm talking to him, but we didn't really get to see him because it was mostly just Together and Tasks being the stars the entire time. There was no crazy big lassos, because with the way they were playing around the map, they weren't looking for those necessarily big lassos. It was just an opportunistic take. He didn't play bad in any sense of the word. I just didn't really see him excel, because you kind of can't when you're living in the shadow of Together and Tasks after that laning phase.
Yeah, and I think the interesting thing to me is that you think about some of the ramifications of the recent balance patch that came in. A lot of the bans were the same. No Shiv in play here, but the return of Silver, and kind of narrowing back in on that, Dan, is that Together, we were talking about in the middle of the broadcast about like, hey, we're going to feed all the urns together. We're going to let together be really, really active because, as mentioned, Silver isn't going to be able to be in the jungle. And, it seemed like a pretty good way to approach Silver now that reviability got, upped a little bit in this patch.
Yeah, and it is actually such an interesting note that you make there because, we didn't have this urn dynamic, I think, when Silver was so prominent in the meta. So yeah, I think it's interesting. And I wonder how much of it is them thinking, hey, if we have Drifter and we pair them together, Silver Drifter, that's actually very potent and difficult to deal with lane combo because the damage output from the bullet, because it's so consistent, that it's going to be hard to fight against that. So I'm curious, if that was part of the plan there. It certainly paid off. It got them a really good start. I mean, to get that 17-1, he only died because he got overconfident, just dove into the base.
Jason, you're looking at here. Something clearly just caught your eye on the stats. What's causing the reaction for you?
Together with the healing, the most healing in the game. What the hell? No, it was actually the 52-17 in kills, man. We had... How long in the game before we finally saw the first kill come on through and it was onto TAS? Just a landslide in kills alone. But again, TAS, like we were talking about it in the draft, when we would see Drifter, like Obi can play Drifter for Buff Joys last week, he would like send it in lane, he would almost just run it down and die, but he would still come out with like the second most damage done in the lobby. And here he comes out with the most damage in the lobby here for TAS at 46, almost 47,000. But to have 3 players at that 46k mark is devastating. No one even came close on the Leviathan side.
Dan, I think a lot of people looking at this breakdown here, they're going to be drawn to 2 things in particular. They're going to be looking at overseas and they're going to be looking at Psy. Really, I think it was Fargareco on there. The name wasn't changed. I was told it was Fargareco, not Psy. But we'll get clarification one way or another. This is the problem when players don't actually play on the real name. But either way, okay, people are saying it was Psy. Okay, so it was Psy in there and the roster swap was intermixed. But either way, Dan, as we're looking at here, for Leviathan, obviously there was a game plan for Abrahams to make sure Billy was dying first in a lot of these fights and, mitigating the factor of Billy. So you can kind of explain the 0-10, even though it's still not the greatest result because, as mentioned in draft, if you first pick something, it needs to have high value. But what about the Calico play here? Were you convinced of this pick over the course of this game?
Yeah, I don't know that I was. I think there was... I just think I think they went so heavy into these like a bursty, essentially assassins, between Mina, Apollo, and Calico, and to some extent, Lash to a lesser extent, but there's a lot of burst that you're trying to achieve here, and I just feel like Calico didn't have the lane presence, and if you look at what it was up against, it's just very hard, I think, to have the start that you need. And in addition to that, they didn't get the start they needed on any lane. If you would have maybe looked to the Demov or the Mina and Apollo lane to have some value, but that also was suffering against, I believe it was Pocket and Infernus, and so really they couldn't quite find the victories that they needed to kind of have a more balanced opening anywhere. And I think, again, their style needs some initiative, and so they need to come out of the early laning phase at least even, and they were just always on the back foot in the most important part of the game for their style, I think.
I want to say one thing about it before we move on, is that I actually really liked the way they were trying to utilize the Calico later in the game, because it was like purely scouting. We saw Psy, go Ava form and run around, look for those engagements, look for those like moments that they actually could collapse onto Abrahams. I think that was mostly the game plan of how they wanted to use or utilize the Calico in the later stages.
All right, well, we got to crown an MVP, and in this case, I think the MVP is pretty obvious. But Jason, who do we got as the MVP?
I mean, it's got to be together. I mean, 17-1 and that one death, I feel like we can all agree we can write that one off. And a 17-0 game for him, pretty much just had absolutely dominating performance. It was the pressure you put on the laning phase with him and TAS was insurmountable. And the pretty much solo running around the map from there on, having a little bit of hover from Sharks to pick up kill after kill, deny as much jungle as possible. That was a scary wolf, I have to say.
Yeah, I mean, Dan, we look at the highlights here, and a lot of the Abraham's game plan, it ran through Silver the course of the game, recipient of all the urns. And also, I mean, just in so many of these highlights, the first mover that create a lot of pressure, create opportunity for the rest of the team to come on in. And it was pretty obvious from the draft that, okay, you only have one person vaguely frontline. And oh man, the hype line is ridiculous because, Dan, usually it's Demov who does that to other people. Demov's not the recipient of that most often.
Yeah, I think we're mentioning it, and you don't often see Silver get this far ahead and have just such a strong start on the kills. And I think with Silver especially, you have so much dive potential because of the Lycan Curse that you're able to do so many insane moves. And again, if you've got a really good player, they can kind of just really run with that and just leverage that advantage effectively. You get so much out of this hero. I mean, imagine if, Hoot had a start like this as well. Like, the best Silver players are going to really, really just be in your face consistently. So, I think that together, just making full use of what I think is a rarer start for a Silver player.
Jason, any other thoughts here on Together? Where it was, clearly a game plan executed to perfection. There's not much else to say, but if you had any thoughts
on him, no. On Tass, a little bit, just because it's a hero that doesn't normally fit what he's been playing ever since Fight Night. So it's been cool to see him actually flex out as something else a little bit more to help out. Not to help out, to kind of show what he can do with obviously the addition on the team. So yeah, really cool to see Tass playing a different hero. I want to see if it happens yet again, because their night's not done. They still have Buffendors to take on here in the money match.
That's right. And of course, we're not going to delay any longer. Of course, if you're wondering about the course of the day, this is what's coming up as Buffendors versus Abrahams in the money match. And then NA, again, if EU is a 2-0 in either direction, NA is going to be a best of 5. Should it go to max maps, though, should it go to 3 in EU, NA will be a best of 3. Blame NA for the little bit of explosion here, but we could have the best of 5, which is really awesome. Either way, we got to take a break. When we come back, the money match will be underway. Buffendors versus Abrahams. Will the addition of Sherrick allow Abrahams to take the crown once more? Got to stay tuned in to find out.